All right. I'm Joette Calabrese. For those of you who don't know me, this is all about homeopathy. We go through my materia medica every week. We've been doing this for about a year now. And I've only missed one. I've been here every single Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, because I love this. I love doing this. I love teaching this. I love that you love it. And so this is good for all of us. And I want to tell you that homeopathy can be a very complex medicine. And I've said this many times, but the way that I teach it on my blog and these podcasts, in my courses, in every way that I possibly can, makes it a rule-based strategy. We follow rules. We even follow, I could even say it's further than that, it's formulaic. I could go further than that and say it's like a recipe. This is not an art. I know people like to say that it's an art. It is not an art. I'm sorry. This is a skill that anyone can learn. That's, as far as I'm concerned, the best part. You can learn it, your children can learn it, your husband can learn it, your neighbor can learn it, your elderly grandmother can learn it, I can learn it, you can learn it, we can all learn it. It is a skill. This is not an art. It seems like an art because we can't always give an exact explanation of why we chose something, but we learned it and it was back in the recesses of our mind. We were thinking about it long ago. We saw an example of it. We saw how this medicine worked for this or that. And it appears as though we're synthesizing or that we are coming up with something that is beyond the mind, and it is absolutely not. This is a skill, and it's a learned skill. It's that simple. I can teach anyone how to do this, and that's why I do this, because I'm hoping that you not only learn this yourself, but that you teach your children, that perhaps your children are here listening and watching, even very young ones. Even young children can learn that arnica is great for head injuries. Even young children can know that we use ledum when someone's stung by a bee. They can know that you use calendula for injuries, for lacerations or injuries when their brother or their dog or their goat is injured. That's the best part of this. So we have to know that there is a lot going on right now in the federal government. And I want you, I have a podcast coming up with Paula Brown. I want you to please pay attention to when that comes up. I think it's coming up in the next few days. The name of her organization is Americans for Homeopathy Choice. And if you just listen to that and simply go to the link that she gives, all you have to do is go link, click, takes you right to the page where you simply use the letter that she's pre-composed, and you simply give your address and it will take you automatically to your legislators. We want you to write to your legislators, your local legislators, your county, your state legislators, and the president and vice president. We want them inundated because the FDA, pardon me? Or anonymous. You can remain anonymous. Is that what you're saying? Well, certainly you can remain anonymous. So, but it's better if you don't, of course. Now, I'm not saying that you should do this alone. I want you to do it, your husband to do it, or get your husband's email with his permission, get your cousins, your babysitter, your children, everyone you can employ to do this, because the only way we're going to save this, and it really is, we've always known that homeopathy was somewhat at risk, but this is the time we really need to take action. And I can't urge you enough. I'm not giving you links at this point, right tonight, but we will have it up soon. So watch for my emails. It should be coming up soon. Listen to the podcast, and I will be following up a number of times. It won't be just one event. So please, thank you. I see all the thumbs up. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. We need to do this. This is our medicine. We have the right to be able to use what we want. And the other side that does not want homeopathy doth protest too much. What difference does it make to them if they don't want to use homeopathy? Except that there is a reason. They are the competition. The competition is, of course, industry that has to lose if people start going en masse to homeopathy. And that is what's been happening in the United States. I wouldn't say it's many millions in the United States, but we're moving quickly. Our numbers are growing exponentially. And there are great numbers of people in Germany and Switzerland, England, not as many. I just got an interesting map of Europe. and Germany was the highest. It was 70% of people use homeopathy. In the UK, it's only 15%, which I was very surprised to see. In France, it's 77%, Italy, 16%, Belgium, 69%, Austria, 62%. It's very interesting, and I may just write a blog on this, and I started to keep some notes on it. I took a quick glance at it today, but it's important that we do this because the United States leads the way. It's just the way it is. We lead the way in most areas of life. And so what happens here is being watched very carefully in other countries. And if they can bring us down here, they can bring us down throughout the world. And they can make it very difficult for us to get the medicines, all the medicines we need. They may say, well, sure, you can have homeopathy, but you just can't have Nux Vomica. Or you're not allowed to have arsenicum album. Or we're taking off the market some of these medicines that, in spite of the fact that we don't understand them, parenthetically, we will take these off the market because they sound dangerous. So although homeopathy has a sterling reputation, no one has ever died from a homeopathic medicine that we have any record of. People will tell you that's not so because they'll say that people have died from one remedy or another, but there's never been any case that's ever proven that. Whereas on the other side of the street, you'll see many deaths, many maimings, thalidomide. I could go on and on. I don't want to go into it too deeply because it'll take up our whole evening. And I really want to talk about tonight something that it's a very, very good medicine, and it's for a barking cough. And when I mean bark, it sounds like this, arf, arf, like a seal, like a dog barking. When you hear that, there are only two medicines we would consider, but one in particular that we're going to be talking about tonight. There are others too. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to think that if you open up the repertory and you look under cough and it says barking cough that you see, 15 medicines. Of course you will. But this is one of the main ones. And then there's another main one too that we could talk about. We'll be talking about it another date. We're not talking about it tonight. But this is a medicine that is specifically good for when the cough sounds like a bark, and we may be suspicious that this could be whooping cough. Now, how do you know if it's whooping cough? It's kind of an interesting thing. There are no tests. Did you know that there are no tests for whooping cough? You never really know. It's a bacterial infection, but we don't know whether or not it's whooping cough. We go strictly by clinical evidence. That means just experience of the doctor. If the doctor has seen enough children or adults with whooping cough, then he or she can identify it more readily. But the funny thing about whooping cough and some other coughs is that they are different in different people. Now, I've had whooping cough. Of course, again, it was never clearly diagnosed. It was clinically diagnosed by the kind of cough I had. And I was exposed to a little boy in Calcutta who had whooping cough, certainly sounded like whooping cough to me and everybody else around us. And they were all medical doctors who work at the Banerjee Homeopathic Research Foundation. In spite of the fact that we use only homeopathic medicines, they are all medical doctors. And so it sounded like whooping cough, when something looks like whooping cough and smells like whooping cough and tastes like whooping cough, then we know it's likely whooping cough. So then not too long after, I got it as well. The medicine that we're going to be talking about tonight is Drosera, rotundifolia. Drosera, rotundifolia, and Drosera is spelled Drosera, and rotundifolia is Rotundifolia. But all you need to know is Drosera. It's a wonderful medicine for when we believe that whooping cough might be coming too. So you can use it. Now, I'm going to tell you that whether your child is vaccinated or not, they can still get whooping cough. In fact, a very large number of vaccinated children still get whooping cough. So don't believe that just because they're vaccinated, you don't have to think about that, because children can easily get it. Now, it's not a dangerous disease, this whooping cough. It is, unless the child is quite young or feeble, weakened by the illness, or any illness for that matter. Usually children under the age of a year old have a very difficult time, or can have a difficult time expectorating. That's the hard part. But it is a horrible thing to go through. Sometimes they call it the 100-day cough. and the coughing is practically excruciating, not necessarily with pain, but with this terrible barking cough. And normally the person is well during the day and very much coughing in the night. So Drosera is the medicine that we've known, homeopaths have known, for 2 centuries. We use this medicine as a prophylactic, so that if whooping cough is in your neighborhood, then by all means you might want to use this for those who are vaccinated or not, however you want to do this. And in that case, we use Drosera 200C couple times a week, 2-3 times a week, in a 200C, several weeks in a row until the epidemic is finished. Whooping cough usually comes around this time, January, but more often a little bit more into the spring, so it's often closer to March. So it gives you time to purchase this medicine if you don't have it. Now let's say someone already has a cough. We don't know, whooping cough, we don't know what kind of cough it is. It's a cough and it's barking. This is when we use this medicine. So I'm going to read from my own Materia Medica here, and I'm going to say this is it's made from a carnivorous plant, kind of an interesting thing, those where they eat the bugs. And it is a great remedy to consider for a cough, especially one that is spasmodic in nature and sounds like a bark, and also whooping cough. As I said, the cough is made worse from talking or laughing or eating or those kinds of activities where the breath and the throat is moving, and can bring on gagging or even vomiting. Now, the vomiting is not because the person is nauseous, but rather they're coughing so much that it creates such a spasmodic episode that the person starts to gag and possibly vomit. The person feels worse when lying down, and coughing can begin as soon as the head touches the pillow. So they often have to sleep sitting up. So consider Drosera also for singers and public speakers. I'm reading it directly from my book. And those who lose their voice during overuse. So it's not just for a cough that's bacterial or even viral for that matter, or whooping cough. It's for overuse. For someone who overuses their voice and then gets that barking cough that can be spasmodic. So think of it that way. Make your thinking elastic and think this out in a way that how else can it fit? This is a barking cough, but it's not whooping cough. This is a barking cough, but it's not from a singer or public speaker. It's from my child who was playing outside and running around and yelling a lot. That we can stretch that and we can say overuse of the voice. So the person matching Drosera may be easily irritated, as you can well imagine, becomes upset over nothing, and in the evening appears increasingly anxious. Of course, you can imagine if you're coughing to that degree, you can easily become anxious. So some people use it as I said, a 200 as a prophylactic. But what happens if you've already got the cough? Then in that case, I've used it both ways. I've used it in a 200 potency and usually a 200C because that's what I've had available. And I've also used it in a 30th potency. Works, I believe, just as well. And so if the person already has the cough, we're not going to use it a few times a week because we've already got it established. Now what we're going to do is perhaps use it in Drosera 30C every 3 hours until you see enough of a shift. And that could be, you might see a change that first night where they're not barking or not coughing as much. They might sleep a little bit better. Then that's your indicator that we're on to the right medicine. That you might not see anything for 2 days or 3 days, but you have to believe that that has the potential of doing it. Now, if the person's getting worse, considerably worse, then you're going to rethink this. Now, this is the part that confuses most people. A lot of times when someone is sick, whether it's a cough or it's eczema or it's a sinus infection or urinary tract infection, they give the medicine. If the person continues to get worse, they're thinking the medicine must be wrong. That's not necessarily so. It could be a progression of the condition in which the medicine has not had a chance to correct yet. So that's why I always say when it's an acute condition, and would be an acute, whether this is a regular old barking cough or a cough from overuse, cough that causes gagging, etc., or it is indeed a cough that is related to a bacterial infection, we are still going to consider it an acute. And when it's an acute, we generally use it 4 pills. This is my 4 rule. We take 4 pills, which is usually the way we do all medicine, all of these homeopathic medicines, every 4 hours, okay, just beyond 4 doses. So if you're doing it every 4 hours over a 16-hour period, and the 16th hour after you've given all of those 4 pills every 4 hours, and you've watched and you've seen absolutely no shift at all, perhaps 1 more dose, and then watch to see what's come along. If that has not made a change, now what you have to do is reread. You're going to read again what it is what you're observing. You might find that something, a characteristic of what's going on in this person's illness has changed, and it usually does. So what we see is, let's say now the bark is gone, yet they still gag. They're coughing till they gag. Maybe even they cough until they vomit, but the bark is gone. So now we go to a medicine that has gagging, just gagging. We know Drosera has gagging, but Drosera's gagging and bark. Now we go to the medicine that has just gagging. Let's see who might know what we're going to use for that medicine. I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm skipping a lot of questions here and comments, but let's see if, who knows what we use. If after Drosera we see the barking is gone, but we're left with a gagging cough, do we have any ideas of what that would be? Yes, Drosera could be used for croup. I'll answer that. Yes, it can. Ipecac, Stephanie. Ding, 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 ding. Nice job. You're the first one. Absolutely. Good job, Stephanie. And let's see. If symptoms progressing, switch to 4 doses every 4. Okay, we got this. That's right. Ipecac, says Shelley. Jackie says, Ipecac. Good going. Nice going, ladies. So we've got people who've been paying attention to my blog or learned that long before I ever taught it, because all homeopaths know this. What I'm teaching you is not my protocol. I teach it because I want to give you specific protocols. But these are protocols that have been around for really 200 some years. Yes, Donna says Ipecac. Kathy says Ipecac. Jackie says Ipecac. Chris says Ipecac. Wow. Wanda, good job. Kelly, good going. Chelsea, love it. Daphne, beautiful. Elaine, hi, Elaine. You keep going, ladies. Sarah, Donna, look at all these people who got it. Absolutely. Schuler, Alicia, beautiful, beautiful. So what you might go to then is Ipecac, because it's got the gagging. Now you're going to give Ipecac 30. Okay. And I've talked about this on my blog. So you can go there if you're not comfortable. You don't know what Ipecac is. You want to know how to use it. Just go Joette Calabrese-se Ipecac. And I'll teach you all about it. And now let's say it works. If the cough is calming down, but now let's say, I don't know, a week later, up comes the bark. Bark, bark, in comes that same cough again. Maybe not as severe, but let's say it kind of reverts back. Now what do we do? What do we do? Going down to the bottom. Okay, Janet also said Ipecac. Yep, Heather said Ipecac. That was from before. Replying to Juanita. Yep, here we go. Let's see what people come up with. What do we do when the cough is reverting back to a bark? Let's see. How do you administer? Oh, let's see. Let's see what we've got here. We go back to Drosera. You're absolutely right. Why do we go back to Drosera? It's very simple. Because it represented. The symptoms are representing. We have an opportunity to use it again. And we simply weren't finished. Don't think, oh no, it's barking again. No, no, no. This is a gift. These symptoms are gifts. They give us what we're supposed to be using. It tells us exactly what to do. So then we go back to Drosera in the same fashion. Why in the same fashion? Because we don't tinker with success. Here it is. It worked before. Let's do it again in the same way. Same potency. Don't change the potency. Not if you had success. Stay with either the 30 or the 200. I would, as I said, I would use a 30, but you could use a 200. In this particular case, I think you could use either one or the other. Absolutely. Would you use it for a child? I would use this for anybody. I would use this for the elderly, for a baby, for anyone. Absolutely. And it doesn't mean that you don't go to your doctor and find out what's going on. You decide how far, what kind of confidence you have. But as you grow in your confidence, as you do this again and again and build this skill, you will glow with the pleasure of knowing that you have helped people, that what's better than giving birth to your baby, feeding your babies, raising up your babies, and curing your babies? I don't know. I can't think of much else other than taking care of your parents, taking care of your spouse, taking care of neighbors, helping people. And as you age, you will find that with this knowledge that you have, this will give you a substantiation in your society, in your community. You will be the old crone who has the answers. People will come to you. You're unlikely to have a lonely old age if you've got knowledge and you've got the medicines right there, because you can still buy them because the FDA has not closed it all down. So this is important, that we age in our knowledge and we age in our ability, and we stay curious and we keep going and we keep learning, and we teach our children, because there's going to come a time when you're going to need help and you want your children to know what to do. Because I'll be honest, when I don't feel well, my brain turns to mush. I turn to my husband, who has no homeopathy training, but he's listened to me through the years. And I've said, I don't know what to do. I can't think straight, especially when it's been something emotional, like a grief or a sadness. I can't think straight because my mind is so fogged up with sorrow or despair or whatever. And so that's when you want your children to say, Mom, maybe you need Ignatia, or your best friend or your sister. Sweetie, don't you think maybe you could really use some Ignatia or Coffea or Metallicum to help you with this? So yes, go back to Drosera. And you continue using this. That 4 times is only to determine whether or not you have the right medicine. Once you know the medicine, you keep using it throughout the day. If it's very severe, you're going to give it every 4 hours. If it's not so severe, maybe every 10 hours, 12 hours. If the child is doing very well, or your husband's doing very well, and the coughing is not so bad, and they're sleeping through the night, and maybe in the middle of the night they have another bout of it, and you just gave the medicine 2 hours ago, you can give another dose. That's fine. You don't want to give one on top of the other unless there is call for it. So you want to meet the intensity of what's occurring with the frequency of the medicine. If it's very severe, you're going to do it more frequently. If it's not so severe, you can go to twice a day. And you keep going. You could use this medicine for 2 weeks if you need to. You could use this and then Ipecac for a total of 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It can be that long, folks. I don't want you to think that you are required to stop. You stop when it's done. When the illness is over, that's when you put your book down and your kit down and go to the next person, because you know darn well there's going to be something up in about 10 minutes. If it's not going to be one of your other children or your husband or your next door neighbor, your best friend, your father-in-law, there's going to be someone who's going to need your help. And so I also tell my students all the time when I teach my study groups, if you're not in a study group, folks, I cannot urge you enough to go to Gateway to Homeopathy, to really think about this, even if you're seasoned, because I have a lot of tips in those, and the camaraderie will become an important part of your life. But one of the things I teach is that when someone says, I don't feel well, honey, it's your husband, you say, oh, I know the medicine, here it is, take this. This, I read on Joette's blog, this is what we're supposed to do. Take this will do it. And he takes it and nothing happens. Either because you haven't given enough doses, maybe you gave the wrong potency. You got to follow the rules. Got to follow those rules. Remember, this is a skill learned. Or it's the wrong medicine. Or you chose you chose a medicine based on the wrong diagnosis. What you want to do instead is, especially if he's not a believer. If he's a believer, then you can just say, honey, I've got what you need. Or let's try this. But always be, when it's someone you don't know if they really trust this yet because they're new to homeopathy, say, here it is. I'm going to put it right here. And when you're ready, if you'd like, I've got this medicine here for you. Put it in the side of the camera. I've got this medicine for you. Be coy about it. Don't be pushy. Don't be too excited. You don't want to lose credibility because I guarantee you'll make mistakes. I still make mistakes. Of course I do. I'm human. And I still misread things. And homeopathy, as I said, is very complex, but I'm trying to distill it down for you folks and for myself. I mean, to be honest, a good part of my learning, especially in the beginning, was all about me and my family. I wasn't planning on teaching this. I had absolutely no compunction to do so. But once you learn this stuff, then you can't stop. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to teach as much as you can. I also want to tell you folks that we are designing a curriculum for children, a homeopathy curriculum. I'm very excited about this. We're in the midst of it. We started it years ago and then went to the wayside for a while, and now we're starting it up again. So watch out for that. It's not going to be immediate, but it will come along. And so watch for that. Meanwhile, however, you can teach, your children can be watching right now. You can teach them as you're learning as well. We're just going to make it a little bit more child friendly. All right. I'm easy to follow. Good. Thank you, Heather. That's exactly what I want to do. Spongia. Spongia is excellent. We're not in the S's though. We're in the D's. So I don't mean to be facetious here, but Spongia is a great medicine. So is aconitum and bryonia. And we've already talked about aconitum and bryonia when we were in the A's. So yeah, we'll be talking about Spongia, and I'm delighted to know that you know it's a beautiful thing. All right. Amen. Love helping people. You bet. So what I'm going to tell you folks, because we're already going over time, I try not to, but that's exciting news. I'm glad you find that's really great. This is what I want you to do. I want you to learn this. I want you to know it. I want you to own the medicines, own as many medicines as you can afford, and then go out and do good work. We only have a certain amount of time on this earth, ladies and gents. It's not that long. It really isn't. I realize it more and more in my life. It's not that long. We have to do as much as we can to help suffering of others, including animals, including livestock. So get out there and do good work. And with that, I say, good night, and God bless you all. Good night, everyone.